The quote is, "Enthusiasm is not an emotional state, it's a spiritual practice."
Welcome back to the Rogue Academic Podcast. Today we are talking with Gregory Agid, jazz clarinetist and fabulous human being with an incredible story about his journey from wanting to do nothing but music, even if it meant living on the sidewalk, to becoming an internet phenom with thousands of followers on Instagram. So with no further ado, here's a little insight into the music industry from Greg and me. Well, I am delighted that we finally got you, on the show. I apologize for all of the tech hiccups and whatnot, but we did it! Yay!
I'm super psyched to be here. Sorry, I was finishing up a lesson, and I just had it in my calendar at two central.
You are all good. So I am here with Gregory Agid, the internet phenom, the man, the myth, the legend himself. I was fortunate enough to cross paths with him at a conference recently, and ironically, he was giving a presentation on the exact subject material that this entire podcast is about. So we became sort of instant buddies that way. Welcome, Greg.
What's going on? What's going on? Thank you for the very kind introduction, and I am flattered to be spoken of in such high regard. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And I'm not kidding. Like, when I heard about what your session was about, I was like, oh, we need to be friends. We need to
Internet
chat.
phenom.
I mean,
I don't know if it,
yeah, I've actually taken a leaf out of your book, a page out of your book, rather, and gotten my sort of internet presence together. And it's going really well. I just got my first brand deal.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations on doing that. That's so great.
Thanks. But we're not here about me. We're here about you. So where did you start in the music business? What made you want to become a musician?
Gosh, where did I start in the music business? Well, my musical history, I grew up in a family that was very supportive of the arts. My mom was always taking me to concerts, and I feel like that was really my introduction to music. I grew up in Hawaii. When I was 12, I moved to New Orleans, and yeah,
I had no idea.
I started playing clarinet when I was in elementary school band in Hawaii, and when I moved to New Orleans, I continued playing clarinet, and I went to a wonderful summer camp here called the Louis Armstrong Jazz Camp,
Nice.
and that's where I met just so many incredible legends of the music. My mentors: Alvin Baptiste, Kid Jordan, Clyde Kerr Jr., Miss Jermaine Basil. Gosh, and then also like my peer group who were also like young musicians at the time. Like maybe you've heard of Jonathan Baptiste
Just
or
a little.
yeah, Sullivan Fortner or Christian Scott, Courtney Bryant, Joe Dyson. Like all of these very highly regarded musicians were also attending Trombone Shorty, like
What?
attending summer camp. Like
Dang.
it's crazy. Look, there's a video on YouTube called 2001 Louis Armstrong Summer Jazz Camp, and check that video out because it's like literal future rock stars all in that summer camp video.
I am
Um,
totally checking that out. I'm writing that down right now.
it's totally crazy. But that program was an enormous influence on me. I was very lucky to meet my mentor Alvin Baptiste there, and I had the privilege of my life was studying with him. And I really fell in love with him. I fell in love with the music community. I fell in love with music, and that was like just a great vehicle for developing my skills and learning more about what it meant to be a musician. So I went to the arts high school here in New Orleans after that, studied music in college, got a master's degree, and all that kind of stuff. But I really credit all of my love for music for that experience at that summer camp, and it really inspired me to move forward with my career.
Wow, that's such a heartwarming story, and very relatable. Although I wasn't introduced to jazz until much, much later in my career, I went to the Interlochen Arts Academy, and that's
Cool.
sort of my cognate there. That's awesome. For me though, it never occurred to me that other people did other things than music. Like, I was a child that just went, oh, so you're a lawyer in your free time, but you actually play the clarinet, like in my head, like I just had the equation. So I went through
So
all of
you
schooling.
always thought people were like musicians,
Yeah.
full-time musicians, and that's all they did.
Yeah, my whole family is musicians, so it never occurred to me that other people had other jobs. Which, if you
Mm.
look back at it, it's a perfectly logical conclusion as a child. Um, but my thing was like it never dawned on me that like being a musician and going to school for music, was not the norm, and B, being successful at it was also not the norm. So you said you went to like undergrad, grad school, and did the thing as I have. My illusion about like the how the world works was not broken until much later. But
Wow,
part
you made it all that time with the dream intact?
I did. I did. I might be delusional. There's lots of people who think that I'm insane. So, there's that. But, as stated, one of the reasons that we got in contact with one another is that, you did this great clinic on how to make money as a musician, how to build your life as a musician and all the different hats and all of that we wear, based on the notion that just because you go to school does not mean you'll be successful. Can you talk about that sort of broken dream realization a little bit?
Absolutely. I don't even know where to start. There's so much to unpack in that.
Dude,
That's probably
that's
like
surreal.
a 25-hour audiobook right there. Uh,
100%.
with
And our
with a
future
lot of
presentation
screaming.
someday.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, I had like a similar upbringing too. Again, when I was in high school, like Trombone Shorty was one of my classmates. He was a year older than me, and like he was already, I don't know about famous might not be the word, but he was very well known.
Hmm.
And he had albums coming out and he was like sitting in with Wynton and all kinds of stuff was happening. And so I also grew up with a lot of people who were musicians. And I think initially all the people that I really fell in love with, they were also teachers.
Hmm.
So I always kind of understood that to be a musician was also came with teaching. That's, Alvin Baptiste was a phenomenal player, composer, everything, but he taught. Kid Jordan, all these other cats, like they all taught. So I always kind of like had that internalized that to be a musician was also going to come with, um, it was also going to come with being a teacher.
Hmm.
Um, but when I went to my undergrad degree, I did a minor in music business and I sat through so many music industry forums where, like I'm coming from this perspective as a quote unquote jazz musician slash classical musician, right? So coming from that world of like excellence and learning the tradition and with the hopes of achieving musical greatness and then being recognized for being a musical genius of some sort.
Hmm.
And I was sitting through all these classes where they were talking about, getting your rock band together and jumping in a van and touring and then playing for like, five people and how to like do merch and how to build an email list.
Hmm.
And the whole time that I was in those classes, I was just like very arrogantly in my mind, just being like, this doesn't matter to me because I'm a jazz musician. Like that,
Ooh.
yeah, no, yeah,
Yikes.
like seriously. And I was just like, like what? I'd go jump in a van and go on tour. Like I'm gonna, like the North Sea Jazz Festival is gonna know that I'm the best clarinet player that ever lived, and then they're gonna fly me out there, and that's how I'm gonna work. And so I like, initially I was just like, this stuff is, I don't, it's stupid,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah, oh, totally.
And I just like was just like, yeah, just I thought all this was like non-applicable to me because I played jazz and classical music. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Like
We all find out
of
sometime.
course. Yeah, we all find out at some point. But the reality is that like yes, of course there are people who are acclaimed for their abilities, for their talent, for their ability to play their instrument. But that is like the 0.0001% of musicians. And
Hmm.
just remember for every I don't know Wynton Marsalis or Freddie Hubbard or whatever, there are like another 9,500 trumpet players that play great and nobody knows about.
Thoroughly aware.
And yeah, Yeah.
thoroughly aware. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And so
Um,
that was like the first time for me. I was just like, I didn't really get it at that point, but I was really lucky to be exposed to
yeah.
that type of education and those opportunities. And it didn't click for me, but it was always in the back of my head.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, relative to school, then, because, like, this is where it broke for me. And I've talked about this on previous episodes. No one along the way ever really, like, sat down and illustrated, like, just because you have all of these degrees does not mean you will be employed necessarily. And that is the whole reason I did this big fat one back here from Indiana. Um, that is the whole reason I did that degree, was to be employed. And so I found out really quickly, and this is truly where it broke for me. I even did a TED talk on the subject. That just because you have the job that you were sort of designed for, right? Like I went into higher education. I adore teaching. And why is my DAW doing that? Okay, here we are. Um, did a thing. Um, I adore teaching, and just because that was your trajectory, and now you got the job, okay, doesn't mean you're gonna like the job, and the people that you work with might not like you, and
Hmm.
to the extent that they want to run you out, you make them uncomfortable. That was essentially what my TED talk was about, and then I went to another job after that. I was recruited by a friend of mine that I'd been friends with for like 10 years, and then that friend got insecure and ran me out of town. So I found myself going, oh my God, I have these degrees and now I don't even want to work in that industry. It's so
Mm.
toxic. Have you ever had one of those sort of moments where you're just like, oh, this was not as advertised?
Yeah, my life.
that's that's honest. I could totally get behind that.
but but I guess again, it's like the yeah, it's not as advertised, and that's not to say that it's good or bad,
Hmm.
but it's different seeing something from the outside and then actually being in it. It's a whole nother experience.
Hmm.
And to say also, like, to I don't want to, we'll just follow the path here, but like talking about academia and like
Yeah.
getting a master's degree or getting an undergrad degree, getting a master's degree, getting a doctorate, those things are valuable, because it's a great opportunity to get the professional training to be a musician.
Hmm.
And this is, I don't think I'm a pessimist. I think I'm a realist. But the reality is that that does not exist in the real world.
Hmm.
And so you go to a great institution and you play in the big band and you play in the orchestra, and then you're fighting for the first chair in your whatever
Hmm.
band you're in. And then you go to your master's degree, and then you have to write a thesis on the harmonic whatever complications of Lenny Tristano meets whatever, and you do this wonderful presentation, get hailed for it, and then you go get your doctorate, and then you're all of a sudden like you've done all this stuff, you've done 10 years of schooling, and the only thing that that credential actually translates to in terms of employment is
Hmm.
working in the institution.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It will never translate to a job in the music industry. It'll never translate to a job at the Blue Note or touring with any band, Beyonce, Michael Bublé, Terrence Blanchard, whoever. The only thing your doctorate can give you is the credential to say that I can teach in college. That's it. It doesn't mean you can play. It doesn't mean you're a good musician. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that you are qualified to teach in a school that requires a doctorate degree to apply.
I almost wish that our listeners could see me gesturing in the background because, I mean, if you could just shout that from the rooftops, like from the highest powered freaking antenna on Earth, that would be very helpful to a lot of people, I'd imagine. It certainly would
Yeah.
have been helpful for me. So when the illusion, like, when you made these realizations that, like, okay, I have this business acumen from having taken these classes, and now I have this perspective, did you make any sort of like career pivots or mental pivots to go, okay, I need to pay my bills, I need to live my life. What do I need to do that?
Yeah, totally. And I just want to clarify one thing. There
Do.
is nothing wrong with getting degrees and going to school and being educated. Like, I
100%.
fully believe in the magic of education,
Hmm.
but again, to break down the illusion that getting a doctorate degree is going to translate to you being employable. It
Mm-hmm.
is only, you are only employable in the institution. That's it.
That's a fact.
So I just want to say that. Um,
Well, and to
but
touch on that for a moment, though, I mean, for those that are listening that are maybe new to the podcast or new to you, you know, you have major playing cred. Like, you've been on the road with big deal artists, you know, and as have many of us with academic degrees. But I mean, in my case, Adele didn't give one flying fuck that I had a doctorate. Actually, I'm pretty sure she didn't give a shit that I
oh
existed.
God.
But you know, like you've been on the road with artists. They're just like, play the damn book. We don't care. You know,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I got so many thoughts on this.
please.
Yeah, it's gosh. I have a master's degree. So, let's just also say here, like I got one of the pieces of paper too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I don't have any debt. Let's talk about debt real quick.
Oh,
For the
girl,
love
we
of
gonna be
God,
here.
for
Gonna be here
just
a
just
minute.
just quick little PSA here. If you are taking $20,000 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 100 or 200, whatever, anything above $5,000 to get a music degree, you have lost your mind. And it is a complete honestly, it's a complete waste of money in my humble opinion. And just just keep in mind that you can make the same amount of money teaching elementary school as like 80% of college jobs.
Yes, I can
So,
confirm. I have worked those college jobs. And what's worse is like maybe 10, 20 years ago was a little different because like the pay scale was slightly better. But thanks to enshittification, which is now a term, it's actually a coined term on the interwebs, enshittification. The enshittification of the education world has made it such that if you have a doctorate, it's likely that you will probably end up with 4 adjunct jobs rather than one well-paying job that would
yep.
pay your bills, have insurance, all of those things. So the world has changed significantly, and I don't think that we are doing a good job in our institutions of informing people of the fact. Also, I don't think the people teaching those courses are even aware of that fact. I mean, those folks have been in those
Totally.
jobs for a really long time, and so they're like, everything is fine. I'm getting paid this much money, therefore you will. Well, Dr. Smith, that's not how the world works.
Yeah, yeah. And again, this is not a knock on anyone who's in
Mhm.
academia, but it's just like shedding light on the fact that it is not the same experience on the inside as it might appear on the outside.
Mhm.
And yeah, 20 years ago, you could get a professorship with retirement benefits and a tenure and all this kind of stuff and work that job for 25 years and be making good money.
Mhm.
Those jobs don't exist anymore because once those people retire, that one full-time job is now turning into 3 adjunct jobs that pay you $45 an hour, $50 an hour,
If you're lucky.
55 maybe if you're
Mhm.
lucky,
Mhm.
with probably no benefits, and if there are benefits, you are paying for them at a 5% discount.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fact.
So so just to say, it's like you can make just as if you're thinking about this, this is like the problem. One of the issues with arts is that we as musicians are only approaching the arts from the perspective of I want to create art, which
Mm.
is cool. And there's a lot of integrity in that. Like as when I was a kid, I was just like, I want to play Coltrane and I don't care if I'm homeless and I just want to play because the only thing that matters is creating soulful and spiritual music and the quest of the music.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I really like having an apartment. I love having a car. I love when I get sick to go to the doctor and have health insurance to pay for those things. I just got a new saxophone. That costs money.
Holy crap, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
rad, dude. I didn't
yeah.
know that you got that sax. That's awesome.
I got it. But all kinds of things like you want to make a record
Mhm.
that costs money.
Oh yeah.
You want to go on tour that costs money, and just again, like maybe I don't know if it's naivete or like that perspective that I had when I was a little younger has changed a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, and going back to the college thing is like a lot of these professors and a lot of these adjunct teachers, they've never been working in the industry.
Mhm.
They have gone from their bachelor's to their master's to their doctorate back to teaching in school
Mm-hmm.
and have never participated in the industry. So it's challenging to relate to what it entails to be a working musician
Mm-hmm.
in today in 2026, because a lot of the people who are teaching have not done it themselves.
Oh
Again,
yeah.
they're great qualified academics and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, but they haven't been working. They haven't been out here hustling. They don't know
Mm-mm.
what it's really like. And let me just also point out that college is an industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is a business,
Mm-hmm.
and college's job is to get people to come to get them to come to pay tuition to go to school. It's a business,
Oh yeah.
and they're what they're selling you are degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and their job is to sell degrees.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's not to get you a job after. It's their job is to sell you a degree.
Yeah, I absolutely loathed that about teaching in a college, and I can confirm all of the things that Greg just said. My evaluations, like, were not actually based on my ability to teach well or to play well. It was, how big is your studio, and do you have like 10 incoming freshmen? Like, okay, that is kind of antithetical to this whole education business, but all right.
Yeah.
So with your current career trajectory, well, I
Wait,
mean,
but
it's
hold on. You
relative
asked me a
to
question. You asked
education.
me you asked me a question that I completely diverted from.
Oh, okay.
But what was the question you asked me? You asked me something about like what I did or something. I don't know what it
Oh,
was.
well, when the illusion broke for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You were lucky that that happened fairly early. It sounds to me like you were really smart about it. You know, what did you, in your mind, go,
Yeah.
okay, I need to make a couple adjustments if I want to have an apartment and health insurance and all of those things. Like, what was that pivot for you? What was that shift?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, thank you for bringing that back up, because I feel like that's like an important part of like my story too, is like
Totally.
how I identify with, whatever has happened in my life. But like I'm a clarinet player by trade, like I studied with an quote unquote like modern jazz avant-garde clarinet player, and my dream was always to like be the future sound of like modern clarinet,
Hmm.
and I don't know if y'all like, anyone listening to this, that's a very unemployable skill.
It is
Right.
niche, shall we say.
Yeah, it's
You have
very niche.
niched down in the,
Yeah,
the content creator terminology, right?
yeah.
You just
so
niched
so
down
believe
early. You're just early to the game.
so yeah, I'm just early to the game, but like that was at some point, like that was like a, I don't know, a problem. Like even applying for colleges, people were like, oh, you can't do a jazz clarinet degree because jazz clarinet's not a thing. You have to do classical clarinet because that's what the
Yeah.
degree is. And so I was always told like, no, you can't do that. And believe it or not, like even like a lot of my friends, like they had bands. Well, no one needed a clarinet player,
Hmm.
so they always needed a trumpet player, a saxophone player, a guitar player, a trumpet player, whatever. So like for a long time, and again too, like I didn't want to get like pigeonholed into only playing traditional jazz
Hmm.
or like stuff like that. Like I had a sound and I wanted to play that stuff. So I was basically unemployable. And as much as that was a curse, it was also a blessing, because it showed me that nobody was going to provide work for me unless it was me. And like immediately, like I was like, if I want a gig, I can wait forever for the phone to ring, and it's never going to ring because no one needs a modern jazz clarinet player. And or I can like go out and book a gig and
Hmm.
like try and get a residency somewhere or create these opportunities.
Hmm.
So because of like my unemployableness as a clarinet player, I was forced to be like a little entrepreneurial and create these opportunities for myself. So I've always kind of like leaned into that a little bit. And as much as that was a curse, it was a blessing, because a lot of those cats who were being employed by like doing sideman work all the time, like they never got a chance to get their own careers going because they were so busy working for other musicians.
Hmm.
And so, and so I a lot of that came into fruition for me because I was unemployable.
No, it makes total sense. I mean, in that, honestly, like, I came to that realization in my second master's degree because I was stupid enough to do two of them simultaneously. Yeah, no, this podcast is kind of like, a monument to how many ways I'm an idiot. But I did two master's degrees. I started with a classical master's degree, and then I pivoted to a jazz performance and pedagogy master's degree when I realized very quickly that classical trumpet players don't end up employed all that well. You know, you're looking at like 4 regional orchestras. You're going to be on the road 8, 6, 10 hours a week, you know, going between all of your different rehearsals and stuff. And so you, at the end of the day, you're not going to make any money because it's not like they pay a living wage, you know. And odds of a woman winning a major job in that world, pretty slim, pretty freaking
Yeah.
slim. So like that's that whole notion of being unemployable and just going, I need to go another route. Super duper relatable. And I think, you know, that really plays into like your current situation as I understand it. You know, you run the Second Line Arts Collective, and then you teach and you play. So like tell me a little bit about all of those hats and how you keep them, or plates spinning even. You know, it seems like a lot to manage.
I don't know how I do it. I'm always like 10 minutes away from a meltdown of some sort. And I go to bed dreaming of being a clarinet player.
Well, that answers that question about your ultimate goals
Yeah.
with your career. I want to be a clarinet player. Well, you
No,
are.
right.
Congratulations.
I am. And you know, this is what it is. You know, I have never talked to anybody that's a musician that says, "Oh, I just practice 10 hours a day and I play a gig once a month and I'm like everything is cool." You know, like
Yeah.
everyone's story is like, "Oh my gosh, like I have so many things going on. I have this concert coming up next week. I don't, like I'm like trying to learn all the music and I don't know if overwhelmed is the right word, but it's a constant. I don't like using the word grind either because I just feel like it has a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of like it's a lot. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a major success as a musician or an artist, then you're back to square one again, trying to like complete the next project because just again, like if you win that Grammy, like you still got to live another 45 years. you know
Mm-hmm.
you still got to find work, you still have to do all that kind of stuff. So, you know, for me, all of this is just about creating opportunities so I can continue to be a musician.
Nice.
And as long as I'm playing clarinet, doing something to facilitate the arts, like I feel like that is going back to my original vision of being a musician and longevity. I feel like the biggest thing that any of us can be striving for is longevity.
Mm-hmm.
It's we're not going to become masters of this music in 1, 2, 5, 10 years. It's a lifetime process.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the challenging things about being in this industry is staying in the industry. It's burnout, having to career shift because now you have like different life obligations. If you have a family, you have a mortgage, you get sick, all these different things can happen to you in life that will help, probably you might have to consider a career shift
Mm-hmm.
because the music is not paying the bills or facilitating the lifestyle to live that life that maybe you have to transition into.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me it's like, yeah, as long as I can, if I'm about to be 40, I'm still playing music. I
Mm-hmm.
still have created a life that allows me to practice, play concerts, and I'm hoping to continue doing that into my 50s and 60s. All of that being said is like all of this business stuff that like I focus a lot on, that's all with the intent of allowing me to have the life that allows me to continue practicing into my 40s and 50s and 60s and playing music and having it be a viable way of having a life,
Mm-hmm.
it's
So,
and
oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt
yeah.
you.
No, and I think a lot of times people come to that realization and it's almost too late, right? If you
Mm.
don't take care of like any quote unquote business stuff
Mm-hmm.
until you're 40, like you're like like again, like my whole thing is like music and business have nothing to do with each other, and you can be a great musician and have zero business acumen.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a great business person and have zero musical abilities,
Mm-hmm.
and each one of these skills are completely separate of one another. Again, you can have all the degrees, all the playing credentials, all the perfect pitch, the perfect recall, the genius composition skills,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have no business setup, what is it, you know, like you're just composing at your house and no one can take your musical abilities from you. No one can challenge your ability to be a phenomenal musician.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have not created a lifestyle that allows you to create a business or a lifestyle that revolves around that skill that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that's a really important thing to dispel, like this ickiness around business as musicians, like
Mm-hmm.
where we feel like it compromises the integrity of our art.
Mm-hmm.
And there are like Wynton Marsalis is a phenomenal example of this.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the highest, he's like his artistic accomplishments are pretty much second to none.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why Wynton is Wynton, one of the reasons, is because he understood how business was going to play into his career in the totality of that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Wynton could have just been another cat. There are plenty of cats who can play trumpet very,
Mm-hmm.
very, very well like him and can kind of do
Mm-hmm.
the stuff like that. But they have not taken care of the business in building the infrastructure around him. And so if you look at any artist that we really like again, just like talking about the jazz world, like Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock,
Mm-hmm.
like John Baptiste, Terrence Blanchard, all of those people have businesses built around them
Mm-hmm.
that continue to employ them.
Mm-hmm.
There are 1,000 other musicians that we all like know who they are, we love and respect them, but they are not businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They're just great players, which there's nothing wrong with that
No,
again.
no, not at all.
Like,
One of my favorite sort of for me it wasn't aha, but I loved watching the audience experience the aha in your presentation at the jazz conference. Was your story about Kenny G. Like,
yeah.
would you mind regaling us with that little, sort of tight five you did on Kenny G? Because I think that really applies here.
Yeah, Kenny G. All right, Kenny G. He's everyone's favorite saxophone player.
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking about Kenny Garrett.
Mm-mm.
Gorlick, I think is his last name.
Right, right, right.
but I watched this Kenny G documentary on HBO, and I highly recommend everyone watch it. It's phenomenal. But they go into the life of Kenny G, what he does, and just the 2 cents that I took away from it is Kenny G is unbelievably wealthy, and he loves playing music. Now, do I like the music he plays? Not entirely. And you can have whatever opinion you want about the quality or the type of music he's creating.
Mm-hmm.
That's everyone is entitled to that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
However, through that documentary, I realized how much Kenny G loves his life. He looked like a very happy person
Aw.
who wakes up in the morning, practices 3 hours, does his thing, does not give a shit about what anyone else thinks about him, and he seems to be living the dream. He's got like 3 airplanes. He has like this giant compound in Seattle that he flies his airplanes around and then practices for 3 hours and then counts his billions of dollars, plays
Delicious
sold
money.
out concerts and all that kind of stuff. And there was so much information about how he built his business
Uh-huh.
in that documentary, like talking about how was an original investor in Starbucks,
Mm-hmm.
how the record business worked, and how he was navigating that industry, how he was selling tickets, how he was monetizing himself as a meme to create more money for himself. Like again, all the Kenny G jokes, he's making money off of that because he is one of the people who like plays into that satire and he's monetized it.
Uh-huh.
And my thing was always like walking away from that documentary was like, why does the music quote unquote have to suck in order, like why can't we just separate that? And like for all of us who complain and say, oh well, Kenny G's not even that good, well, why don't you take the business lessons, the business, whatever he's doing to run his business, and who is to say that you have to be a mediocre musician to implement all of these strategies?
Right?
And for all of us who are great musicians and sit on the sideline allowing other ambitious people to take up the industry because they have ambition,
Mm-hmm.
we are allowing them to take it from us.
That
You know?
is, yeah, that is a hell of a takeaway. You're so right though. I mean, everybody bags on Kenny G as being like this, like, oh, he's not a real musician, he's a sellout. Of the two of you, the person criticizing Kenny G and Kenny G, which one of you is a millionaire? That's usually my question.
Yeah, and you
you
know
know,
what? He does not give a shit about any of our opinions
Mm-mm.
because
Doesn't have
he
to.
he he looks like he's living a happy, fulfilled life. He's got
Uh-huh.
his family. Like he looks like genuinely happy. And
Yeah.
that like was such an amazing thing to see. And but again, it's like to me it's like it's that same like myth that I had as a musician like, because the music is bad, business is bad,
Right. Yeah.
right? Because the music is cheesy, the business is bad. And again, it's just like we have to, all of us who can quote unquote play or have artistic integrity or whatever it is, like I believe it's also up to us to let the world know why what we're doing is important, and we have to create opportunities for ourselves to just give that to the world and
Yeah.
build those connections, because there are people like Kenny G or people like whoever who are doing that. And as long as we sit on the sideline, they're doing it and they're taking up the space, and we're just sitting around bitching and complaining.
Facts. Big old facts. So when you watched the documentary, was there anything in particular that stuck out to you going, oh, I'm going to do that? Like, I'm okay. I'm done sitting on the sidelines. Let me grab that and see if I can apply it to my life. Was there anything there?
Um, I mean, I think like just general things like, gosh, I mean, all right, here we go. I think the biggest takeaway was music is about connecting with people,
Mhm.
like truly at its most core fundamental level. And a lot of times, as again, like institutional musicians who've been trained through the institution, we have this myth that this level of quote unquote excellence that we've been indoctrinated with is the only thing that matters in music. And there's always that conundrum of like, how do you explain that no one cares about, I don't know, Stravinsky, but everyone loves Kenny G. Stravinsky's not, maybe not the best example, but some phenomenal piano player
Yeah.
versus Kenny G or
Right.
whatever. Chris Potter versus Kenny G. Why
Right.
does no one care? And it's not, it doesn't or why are both of them successful? Like Bob Marley is different than Dave Matthews Band is different than Mozart, is different than Beethoven, than Wynton, than Taylor Swift. And the thing is that the thing that brings them together is that they've found a way to connect with people.
Hmm.
And the problem is, as musicians, oftentimes we don't prioritize connection. So we can still create very high level art
Hmm.
and connect with people. And to me, that was the takeaway from Kenny G, is that at every point of his journey, he prioritized connecting with people. He wanted to create music that connected with people, and he was willing to compromise. There was not even compromise. His intention was to always connect with people.
Hmm.
And so a lot of us as artists, like we create a piece of music and we say, I don't care if anyone likes this. This is my art,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so anyways, my takeaway was like this industry is about connection. And when people feel connected to you, they are going to support you, they're going to support your art, and it's going to allow you to create more.
Love that. That is probably the best takeaway, honestly. And you're so right. I mean, it's a people business, at the end of it. I mean, there's a lot of chit chat about like what AI is or isn't going to do about, to the music industry, to musicians. And the thing is like AI doesn't make friends. you know, it can make music or something that could be loosely construed as music, but it is not going to take over the people side of the business. I think you're absolutely right. So in adding all of these adages and lessons that you've taken away like throughout your career, like you've gotten to a point where you run your own jazz collective, like arts collective. Can you tell us a little bit about what Second Line does?
Yeah, so Second Line Arts Collective is an organization I founded with a friend of mine 10 years ago. And yeah, the initial mission of the organization was to create a program that merged artistic excellence with entrepreneurship training for
Nice.
musicians. And again, like really at its core, it's like to dispel this starving artist myth. And so many things have changed in the industry over the last 30 years, from going to like the record label model of
Hmm.
success to a very do-it-yourself entrepreneurship model. And every musician is a small business We are responsible for the booking of our gigs, the marketing of our stuff, like website design, social media, uploading our stuff to Spotify, recording at home, implementing all of these technologies that a record label used to have 15 people employed to take care of for you.
Mm-hmm.
We are now responsible for that ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so important to begin messaging to young people
Mm-hmm.
that that is the reality that your career is that you're stepping into
Mm-hmm.
as a musician. And that it doesn't matter if you are a jazz musician or a classical musician or a rock, pop, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We are all entrepreneurs, and it's really important to have that understanding that if you want to build a career about, if you want to be an artist, you have to build some type of career around your art.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to allow you to keep playing. So that's really the genesis of this organization. And so we do a bunch of, we do a summer workshop here in town. We do programming throughout the year. We try to do artist development with bands and
Mm-hmm.
help them kind of navigate the industry and get their foot in the door. So they have the press kit ready, they have some video recordings, they have an audio recording. And the dream is to, again, do artist development to the point that a manager will be ready to take that person on.
Wow, that's an incredible resource. And I'll definitely put that in the show notes too, just to make sure people can find you once we're through here. So, what advice, speaking of, paying it forward to the young musicians and helping them get their, proverbial act together, what advice do you have for young musicians looking to create a modern music career or to emulate some of what you've done?
Yeah, I have so much advice. Okay, wait, I have this quote right here. I love this so much. This has changed my life a couple days ago. The quote is, "Enthusiasm is not an emotional state; it's a spiritual practice." So that was so
Nice.
good. So I think, all of this starts with a love and passion for what you do.
Hmm.
You have to enjoy the life that you create. And as musicians or artists, we always, I think one of the fallacies is that we relegate our creativity to our art. And we're creative people and we get to live a creative life. I get to wake up in the morning and I get to choose, do I roll out of bed the left way, the right way? Do I jump out straight? Do I brush my teeth this way? Do I take a shower or do I eat breakfast first? And how am I going to brush my teeth? How am I going to drive to work? Am I going to take the
Yeah.
interstate? All of those are creative choices in how we choose to live our life. Am I going to take this job? Am I going to go sit on a mountain for 45 years? We have choices all the time.
Hmm.
And one of the gifts of arts education is that hopefully, you learn how to be a great artist, you learn the music, you learn all that kind of stuff, but you bring those lessons and that creativity into the real world, into your day-to-day existence,
Mm.
and you learn how to create a life that is meaningful and feels good for you and is of service to your community. And you have to do that with enthusiasm. You have to find the love for how you do the mundane, minute things, like you have to have a purpose. You have to love this so much and know that sending 15 emails today is for the greater good of the next generation of musicians, or it's for the greater good of that album that I really am dreaming of doing, or that grant that I have to write. Like it might not be the funnest thing in this moment, but it's all for this purpose that is ties everything together. And so I feel like finding the love and the joy and everything is just such an important part of this process because that's what's going to get you through the challenges. And it's going to be challenging,
Hmm. Yeah, that's
but you have to
beautiful.
love it.
Absolutely. So, speaking of enthusiasm, I've been checking out a whole bunch of your social media, mostly to just see what you're up to and, see what takeaways that I can find in the things that you're doing, because you put out so much good stuff for young musicians to play
Oh,
along to, and you sound great, and like the whole package is sort of there. Most people, I feel like, of our age, and I'm gonna make us sound a little old for a minute, probably didn't see themselves as Instagram creator personalities.
yeah.
When did you realize that that was like a real tangible thing that could be, sort of honed and turned into its own revenue stream?
Yeah. Well, let me clarify that I don't see myself as an influencer. I
Hmm.
see myself as a musician who uses social media to perpetuate my brand. Like,
Love
I
that.
am not an influencer. Influencers are something else. Those people live in a different universe, and they are TV channels.
Hmm.
They're not real people. I'm a real person that that is like showing you what I'm doing.
Yes.
That's it. Like, I'm living a real authentic life, and that's it. Um, none of the shit, and so maybe going back to like my college days. So my senior thesis for my industry program was like creating this giant thing about um, the reality that musicians could monetize things like YouTube for their advantage. And one of my biggest regret in life, I think, right, if I have one regret right now that I'm conscious of, it would be that I stopped my YouTube channel in 2009. And I started like posting. I think I was maybe one of the first few people to like start doing like, instrument tutorials and jazz tutorials and stuff like that on the internet.
Hmm.
And I just stopped, and I always thought that this was going to be a new way of connecting with people, right? Going back to that idea of connection.
Hmm.
And I just, to me, it's like every like a technology accompanies some type of creative act, right?
Hmm.
Like, all of a sudden, like, why were jazz solos 2 minutes and 35 seconds? Well, that's because that's how long the records were,
Hmm.
right? And then all of a sudden CDs came out, or radios came out, or like MP3s came out. So all of these like musical advancements are accompanied by some type of technological reality.
Hmm.
YouTube and the internet, that is another technological change.
Hmm.
And we there's it's TV of 2010 or 2010 or whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
And so to me, it's like that's just, and it's free advertising. Like, I live in New
Absolutely.
Orleans. I don't live in New York. And all of my friends who live in New York, New York is a world hub. You can go to Smalls and you can like have a connection to the entire world.
Yeah.
I don't have that here in New Orleans because New Orleans is an island.
Hmm.
But if I implement Instagram and YouTube and the internet, I have access to 8 billion people on earth who have a phone,
Hmm.
and I don't have to pay anyone any amount of money to ask them, "Hey, can I please have an article in your magazine?"
Yep.
I can take it's a way of, again, empowering myself
Hmm.
to reach people. And that's the way I've always thought of Instagram, is like it's my greatest tool to create an audience and to connect with them, and
Hmm.
and let them know, "Hey, I'm here doing this thing that you've been looking for, and I'm the one you've been looking for, like, and
Hmm.
let's do some clarinet stuff."
Absolutely. No, I think it's the great playing field leveler because I, like you, find myself to be in an island. I often call Fort Wayne, Indiana, sort of the Bermuda Triangle of musicians because like this whole town is just rife with killing musicians because of Sweetwater. They bring
Yeah.
in musicians from all over the place to work there. I am one of them. That's how I ended up here. And we're 2 hours from everything. Like, I'm 3 hours from Chicago, 2 hours from Detroit, 2 hours from Indy. But that also means that I'm the last person that gets called for any of those major markets. So then what
Mm,
do? You hang out on the internet with your friends and you use it as a marketing
yeah.
tool. That's absolutely like a playing field leveler, in my opinion, for
It's
sure.
it's so important. And I think about a lot of my students. I had an experience once many years ago where I was like putting out my record, and I needed a publicist. And the publicist was like, "Yeah, like a 3 month campaign is like $5,000." And
Wow.
I can't guarantee you anything is going to happen, but I think we'll get some traction on these articles. And so when you think about that you put out, you spend 10, 15, $20,000 recording an album, then you have to budget for another $5,000 to hire a publicist that may not get you any press
Mm-hmm.
in order to sell your album. Well, if you have created that audience on Instagram, I think of Chad Lifwitz Brown a lot.
Oh,
he
totally.
cre- he created an audience where he has an email list, and all of a sudden, he sells things, and you don't need to, again, ask someone for permission to allow you to do that thing that you want to do. All you need to do is take this audience that you've built
Mm-hmm.
and you can sell directly to them. There's no one else taking the cut. You don't need to pay a publicist $5,000 to get you an article in Downbeat. That who even reads Downbeat? I don't read
Right.
Downbeat.
I know.
Like
Same.
like literally, I don't read Downbeat, and then I ask myself, if I don't read it, who the hell reads Downbeat? So
Right.
and that just cost you $5,000 to get an album review in an album in a magazine that 10 people read. You know,
100%. Yep.
that's the realness, in my opinion. And again, this is just the stuff that works for me, and it
Yeah.
might not be the thing that works for you, and it's totally cool.
No. Heard. So we've talked about a lot of the good ways that we're going about things and connecting with people and living in that enthusiasm. And I'm grateful to have found, to have bumped into you when I did, because that was, helpful to me to kind of recalibrate my brain and go, oh, wait, there are a couple more things I could be doing that would help me, live my best life, as, so many people would say. But like something that's come up in a couple of different, podcast episodes that I'd love to pick your brain about, is how the younger musicians are coming into the scene. There's been a couple of musicians on here that are like, yeah, somewhere along the way, like something has broken. And there are a lot of young musicians who are like, and I feel like every generation feels this way about the next generation. Oh, they're cocky. Oh, they think that somebody owes them something. Like, because I got that kind of crap when I was younger too. But the
Mm.
stories that these musicians are telling are like, whoa, okay, somebody definitely needed to correct that young person before they got into a professional situation. Have you found like some common sort of pitfalls that musicians are falling into, either on the business side or the performing side? Have you seen much of that?
Uh-oh. God, you're like literally you're teeing me up to say, well, back when I was
Well,
young.
no, it's just that you work with young musicians through the collective. So I'm genuinely curious, because you would be in contact with more of that demographic than I would. I play the same 4 gigs with the same 10 guys. Like it's a small scene.
Yeah, well, I feel, I've just embraced that part of life is embracing the contradiction or the paradox. So I
Yeah.
feel like what I'm about to say right now is incredibly contradictory to what, like, in some ways contradictory to the fact, like, I am a teacher and I run an organization and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, I think that's really challenging for young people. And I used to say this to my partner who started this organization. We would oftentimes find ourselves complaining about the next generation,
Mm.
and then I would always remind them, and I'd be like, Darian, remember when you were in band class, right? Like, remember in high school, there were how many people were in your band class? 50 people. All right, there's 50 people in band. How many of them actually practiced?
Right.
Right? Just three of you.
Hmm.
And guess what? It's just three of them today too.
It's so
So it's
real.
not like I don't really know how much things have changed,
Hmm.
but I think it's also the realization that, like, we as individuals are extremely passionate about what we do,
Hmm.
and not everyone else is on that same level, and it's okay. So, like, in high school a lot of people are still figuring it out, like, just because you go to an arts conservatory high school doesn't mean you're going to be an artist. You might be in that environment, but you might go become a doctor or something, get a pre-med degree.
Hmm.
And so I think part of it is embracing that as much as things have changed, things haven't changed.
Hmm.
But and again, going back to me, it's like I think about how much I work. Like when I was 16, I would work at a restaurant. I was a busboy at a restaurant, and I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Hmm.
I did that in college. I've always had a job. I've always had work. I don't know how many young people have like that kind of jobs. And then once again, I go back to saying how many of my peers had jobs like that in high school. I
Right.
was the outlier.
Hmm.
So to say is like I think that making it in this industry really requires a drive. You have to have some type of internal drive that's going to set you apart from the others. And the thing is too is that maybe their drive is in a different way, a part of life. So
Hmm.
maybe, because we have a drive for music, they might have a drive for medicine.
Hmm.
So we're all driven by different things. But I think where we're selling the next generation really short is that we're just lying to them. We're
Whoa.
lying
Hot
we're
take.
lying to them. yeah, no, and I'm guilty of this too. We're lying to them because going back to that talk about college and the reality of like selling a degree. Schools are businesses, and schools stay open because they have numbers of kids. And if schools don't have certain numbers of kids, the school closes down. And all of a sudden there are no teachers working there. And it's the same thing for nonprofits, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
in this battle right now of like trying to sell the fact it's like, no, we don't have 75 kids, we only have 30,
Mm-hmm.
but like we're trying to provide something of like extreme quality to these young people. And then the pushback I very frequently get is like, well, we're going to fund this other program because they have 100 kids.
Oh gosh.
And the thing is like we've even now this again going back to this music education industrial complex,
Uh-huh.
these children are being afforded very unique opportunities before they are ready for them,
Mm.
before they have earned them.
Mm.
Right here in New Orleans, there are students in high school who are going to play major jazz festivals all over the world.
Oh yeah, it happens all
They
over the
they
place.
that happens all over the place, and it's not because the students are of quality in terms of their
Mm-hmm.
musicianship. It's because it's good for the organization.
It's because their band director's a good publicist. I was in one of those big bands, like, and it was a good big band. It was not a jazz like festival worthy big band. Now that I have been out in the world and been on like the Diva Jazz Orchestra, like perspective. But the thing was, the band director was an incredible publicist, like
Mm-hmm.
decent musician, but kick-ass publicist. So like we ended up playing when I was in my like second master's degree, like all these different jazz festivals and education festivals and whatever. And it wasn't because we were good, it's because he was good at sending emails.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is like like again, it's like these are wonderful like growth opportunities for young people. It is a blessing to go travel the world and go to Switzerland or wherever, go to Colorado or South America, wherever it is that you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are invaluable life experiences that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people who don't come from affluent families have an opportunity to participate in,
Very true.
right? And I and
Mm-hmm.
I and I understand that it is very important to afford those opportunities to people who don't come from money.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that when musicians enter the industry after being presented all of these amazing opportunities from the time they're 14, 15, 16, 17, but they haven't achieved the musical excellence, what happens when you're 28 and you're not cute anymore and you still can't play, but you've done all the festivals and now you can't get any gigs? Because
Mm-hmm.
the problem is you were presented a false reality that doesn't exist. And when you get 25 plus, you're no longer the up and coming like only female saxophone player, only male clarinet player, only this, only that. You're just some creepy adult that no one cares about, and you should be you why is your career why are you broke?
Right?
you, the
100%.
cuteness the cuteness wears out. And so the thing is, just my gripe, and I think where we're selling a lot of musicians short, is that we're presenting a false reality, and we're telling them, hey, life is going to give you all of these opportunities because you're a beautiful person, and there's an element of truth behind that, but also the real world is not that kind. And
Mm-mm.
you have to create opportunities for yourself as a musician, because one day you're not going to be the next. And 5 years later, there's going to be another batch of cute little kids going to Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you're 29, 30 years old. You can't get any work because you peaked at that age. And to me, I hope I'm like clearly articulating. I
You are.
just feel like we should be doing something to prepare them for the skills that they're going to need when they get older, because it's hard out here, and we're all competing for work,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to prepare young people for that reality.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying, and I think fundamentally the difference is like we teach young musicians to live in a reactive environment where they are given stimuli and they must react to it. But the music industry is a proactive environment where we must go after these things. Um,
Yes.
like I attended a master class with that was taught by Roger Ingram back in the day, and I was asking him, it's just like, dude, how does one get gigs? How do you get into this industry? Like, you're doing the thing that I want to do. How'd you do that? And he's just like, well, I can't tell you anything that wouldn't be terribly inappropriate, but I will tell you this. When you see, if you think of like the industry, the music industry as a pie, and everybody has their little slice of pie, people get real bent out of shape if they think that you're going to take their little slice of pie, which is extremely true, especially among trumpet players who tend to be just kind of insecure people anyway. Not all trumpet players.
Aren't we all?
Right. Hashtag not all musicians, right? But his thing was just like, no, just go make your own pie. And then include all of your friends at the table where you're going to plop the pie down. And I never forgot that. I was just like, man, that's such great advice. Now I'm, as an adult, really curious about all the inappropriate things he wanted to like use as example. But, the advice at the time was excellent. I think it's nonetheless true. So being that, you're a music entrepreneur, you're a teacher, you're a performer, all of that is like all over the place all the time. Do you have any sort of life hacks or gadgets that like you can't live without? This is one of my favorite things to ask people about, because then I get to learn about the tools that make your life easier. And then I can adopt them. But hopefully, we all learn something about how to make our own lives maybe a little more streamlined or easier.
Gosh, what if other people told you? I'm curious, like what?
I've had other people talk about gadgetry in the form of like actual technology. So like I had a person that was like really fanatical about an Apple Pencil because of all of the different markings that their conductor was making them make on their music. Another one had suggested an app called Clear, which is just a to-do list app, because I feel like every musician on the planet is just a little ADD. So, it makes hierarchical to-do lists that you can organize in any fashion you like. You can color code them, you can do whatever with them. I personally, like, my life hack is a hokey thing called a paper planner.
What is that?
It's a paper planner. No, it's a planner made out of actual paper. It looks like a book. But no, this is the
screen, or how does that work?
Right? Oh my gosh, right? No, it's called the Life Mastery Planner, and I think it oversells itself a little bit. But what I love about it is that you can plan out your day down to the half hour. And it will remind you, it basically has like little tickers along the bottom, and like, how many glasses of water have you drunk today? Take care of yourself. And then it says like, what is your reward to yourself if you accomplish your goal for the week? It gives you sort of that macro and micro at the same time. And I really love that because, again, autistic person, I like structure.
Yeah. Gosh, if I was to think of the one thing, I have like a list of things.
Nice.
If I have to pick one thing, it's my clarinet. That's it. That's if I had
Nice.
to, look, when the apocalypse happens, I got my backpack. I'm bringing my clarinet with me.
There you go.
and a lot of water.
Nice.
But honestly, I live on my laptop. Like,
Yeah.
I need my laptop, and to me, it's like it facilitates so many amazing things, from staying organized. If I don't write it down in my calendar, it ain't happening. From music notation software, Sibelius, Final Cut Pro, Canva. Oh my gosh, use Canva, for the love of God.
Canva. I want a
Yeah.
Canva endorsement so bad, because there have been like 5 or 6 of my guests. They're like, we all use Canva.
Yeah, Canva is an amazing tool.
Yeah.
But even like, to me too, like, gosh, I just think about like books, like over this last year too, like, so I think so many, like, I'm a very productive person, and I definitely spend a lot of my life being like, I'm good, how do I optimize my performance in this? But also, like, rest. Like,
Mm.
I feel like reading, turning off screens, not listening to anything, going outside for a walk,
Hmm.
writing down in a journal, talking to someone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if those are technological things, but they're just that's
Doesn't
what's
have to
coming
be
to my
tech.
mind right now.
Yeah,
It's
those are
just,
life hacks.
life hack is just embracing the moment,
Hmm.
and just knowing, usually in the moment right now, everything is okay. Being grateful for my health, being grateful for my friends, being grateful for music and all the gifts. I feel like the life hack is gratitude.
Nice. This is tangentially related. Have you heard the song Disco Snails?
No.
it's adorable. I mean, it's a G-rated little disco jam.
Yeah.
But like, and it they did a great job of nailing like the overall disco style. It came out like it was very TikTok famous for a minute. But you know how in like old disco tunes they would have like some guy in the background telling you about what was happening, like I'm third in admission, like you know they would like tell a story while they're telling this song while everyone is clearly doing illegal things. But there's one little part of the like it's after the inevitable guitar break, right? Because you have that and it goes on for a while, and then this guy at the end of it goes, their latitude is gratitude. And every time I hear someone talk about, you know, like how gratitude can change your life, you know, this is interesting. And for those of you who, you know, are listening, I wish you could watch, but we'll get there. I actually have a rock on my desk that says gratitude, and it reminds me
Gratitude.
to be present and grateful for all the things that I can do. That you know, I like you, I get to make my choices, as we all do. But you know, my choices are like, which friend do I get to talk to for an hour to, you know, help my podcast out? You know,
Yeah.
but
And,
yeah.
you know, and to say, you know, it's also like, is someone who for a very long time would try to optimize like my life through gratitude, like, oh, I just have to be grateful for this, and but never felt it. And maybe
Mm,
like a quick side thing on mental health and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, therapy is an amazing thing. And it's not, and just to say to everyone here, it's not like you go to therapy 1 2 3 days or something like that and you're fixed. Like it is a year's process.
mm-hmm.
And to say, like, to get to this point of gratitude that I currently feel today, I have been working my whole life to get to this point, and it's been a lot of good times, a lot of bad times, a lot of growth, but with a lot of intention to know that it is possible to be happy, but never really feeling that within myself. And
Mm,
so doing a lot of therapy, giving up a lot of things that are not good for me, alcohol, other illicit substances,
mm-hmm.
trying to, again, like, just do a lot of like the self work that again is not always related to optimizing productivity, creating the most killing composition, or being the best clarinet player. There's also like another element of life where it's like I want to do all these things, but I also want to enjoy it
Yeah,
and be
that's
happy.
oh 100%. That is like totally real. I mean, so one of the things that I've done in the last year, um, you know, and this kind of ties into like the next question about like, you know, sort of the five non-negotiables for becoming successful, you know, in the industry or as a business person, as a human, you know, fundamentally you have to be kind of like a good human to continue to enjoy success and be grateful for it. Was starting a gym habit, like a
Yeah.
non-negotiable, like this is my time where I work on myself and I ensure that I'm going to be around for a while. Because I'm not sure I mentioned it earlier, but I'm getting married in June, to the most amazing man who
Ooh.
does all my graphics and is so kind to entertain my little like whims of like, I want to start a podcast, well here's all the things you need to do that.
Mm.
God bless this man.
Aw.
But I want to be around for a long time so I can hang out with him. He's my favorite
Yeah.
person. Um, so you know, just having that gym habit, like it's twofold. It's mental game, right? Like it's you versus yourself against whatever. And one could argue that an instrument is the same thing. I mean, trumpet players are ultra macho sometimes. We're like, oh, our instrument's so hard. No, trumpet's not hard. You make it hard. But it's true. It's plumbing. It's not that hard.
Oh my God.
It's plumbing with buttons. Um, but it's that mental game of like, I'm going to do this physically hard thing or this physically complex thing, and I'm just going to do what I can to get better at it every day, whatever that is.
Mm.
You know, be better than your past self or whatever. You know, that has been transformative for me. Do you have anything, you know, sort of a daily thing that you do that's just like, yeah, this is how I get my mind right?
Yeah, totally. Maybe like, to how do you, yeah, the first step to success is you have to define what success is for yourself.
Let's go.
You know, yeah, because again, it's like you talk to me and you talk to anybody else. Everyone else is going to have a different definition of success. For some people, success is having a family.
Mhm.
For some people, having success is, I don't know, like just training all day incessantly, like there's no tomorrow
Mhm.
for whatever it is that they're doing. So success is going to look different for everybody. And it's the most important part of that process is knowing what success is for you,
Mhm.
because it's so easy to get trapped into someone else's vision of what your
Mhm.
life should be. And when it all comes down to it, like, our parents have expectations of it, our community have expectations of us, our friends, everyone has an idea of what we should be doing. But when it comes down to it, when we're 80, 85, 90 years old, all of those people are going to be gone, and it's just going to be you reflecting on how you chose to live your life. And so I
Mhm.
think it's so important to define success for yourself and have the courage to follow that, regardless of what other people think is right for you. And
Nice.
of course, take advice. Like, people will lend you advice, and people who you genuinely trust will have your best interest in mind.
Mhm.
But the best advice I ever got was, you're smart, you'll figure it out. And you have to, yeah, you have to, but it starts with defining success. For me, I try to exercise every day.
Uh-huh.
Being a musician is an incredibly physically demanding occupation.
Mhm.
And if you hurt yourself, or if you're not in good health, if you're sick, you cannot play. If you break your finger, you cannot play. If you something happens, again, like if you're not taking care of your body, you cannot play.
Mhm.
So being healthy is very important to me. It's also very important to my mental health. For a long time, like practicing, that's a
Mhm.
non-negotiable. Like I get so much peace and joy out of
Mhm.
practicing that
Mhm.
it's something that I just love very much. I love my friends. I have an amazing group of friends that I am
Mhm.
just incredibly inspired by them as people, and also a lot of them happen to be musicians and the baddest cats I know in the world, and they're also
Nice.
the sweetest guys and just wonderful people.
Yay.
Um, yeah, so I love my friends. Um, I love my community. Reading is awesome. Reading is super cool. Um, but yeah, those are, I think, just in terms of success, it really comes down to just defining what success looks like for you,
Mhm.
and just also knowing that you can always pivot,
That's true.
right?
That is
Yeah, you
super
can
true.
you one day you think the what success is winning that Grammy, and maybe it's okay when you realize that, wait, this is not what I want, and it's okay to change.
Mhm.
You know, it's okay to keep going, whatever. But it's just you can do it.
Nice. And that actually brings us to our final question. This is my one of my favorite questions to ask folk. If you were a flavor of ice cream, what kind of ice cream would you be, and why?
I'm gonna pass on my horrible joke. I'm gonna go with.
Oh, we love
I
horrible
was gonna
jokes.
I was gonna say vanilla.
Oh, snap.
That's horrible.
If you know, you know, people. If you know, you know.
Just white marshmallow.
Stay puffed marshmallow man.
Oh shit. No, you know what? No, if I could be one flavor of ice cream, I would be. Man, there's this. I just discovered this. It's been around forever, but usually I never get Bluebell ice cream. But there's a freaking pralines and cream Bluebell ice cream that they sell here, and it is so freaking good. So I take pralines and cream. That's it.
Nice.
That's
Right on. Love it. Well, dude, thank you so much for sharing your time and wisdom with us. I hope everybody that's listening has gotten some nuggets of goodness from our little conversation. And I will be sure to link your Second Line Arts Collective in the show notes.
yeah.
And do check it out online if you are a young artist in the New Orleans area. Check it all out and see what opportunities await you there. Thank you, Greg, and we are out.
Thank you so much.
There are many paths to success. Greg has walked just about all of them, as have I, and I'm so glad we were able to share that discussion with you today. If you're wondering what direction to go in the music industry, I hope this provided some insight. While you're on your way, everybody needs caffeination, so stop by Hideaway Coffee of Fort Wayne, that's HYDE Away Coffee of Fort Wayne, and enter Rogue 10 in the checkout for 10% off your favorite roast. As always, we appreciate your support and your listenership. Be on the lookout for upcoming episodes from all kinds of exciting people I have in the docket. And we will catch you next time. Have a great day.